I spent hundreds on gifts for my nieces and nephews, but didn't even give them one. Ever since I was little, my parents beat it into me that when I grew up, I needed to provide for them. And so, my dream of making more money was always accompanied by the thought of me showering my family with gifts and love. I studied hard in school. I paid over 50% of rent as a teenager, yet I never got as much as a genuine thank you from my parents. Deep down, I think I knew something was wrong, but I craved their approval so bad, I just pushed it to the back of my mind. Fast forward to now. I'm 28, and when last Thanksgiving came around, I was actually feeling really good. For the first time in a few years, I was able to purchase gifts for everyone. My parents, my sister Emma, her husband Joe, and their 3 kids. I even got extra of everything so the kids wouldn't fight over who gets what, plus some more in case anyone brought unexpected plus ones. I convinced myself that this was how everything needed to feel. But then came the bomb drop. I showed up at my parents' house with presents loaded in my car, and when I knocked, my mom answered the door. I expected some sort of hug, or even just a simple hello would have been nice. But instead, she hit me with, "We think it's better if you don't join us this year." I swear I thought she was pranking me, and I even started to chuckle. But then Emma hollered from the living room, "This isn't a gathering for cheapskates. You've become a real drag lately." I just stood there dumbfounded. My dad was hovering in the background, not saying a word. Mom looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole, and Emma, she looked downright pleased with herself. I just stared at her blankly while my body went through the full range of emotion, confusion, rage, humiliation, everything. But I just nodded slowly and said, "All right, if that's how everyone feels," before turning around and going to sit in my car alone, surrounded by a pile of unwanted gifts. They called me a cheapskate, a drag. Where was this coming from? An awful gut feeling washed over me, and I had this nagging feeling that somehow Emma was behind all this, except I couldn't figure out why. So I did what I always do in these types of situations, and asked myself if I was my own brother-in-law, what I am to Emma. Would I appreciate myself? My head instantly flooded with memories of helping with their kids' extracurricular fees, chipping in for their vacation fund when money got tight, and even covering part of their down payment when they bought their house. This left me with a clear answer. Hell yeah, I would appreciate myself. It was at this moment that I allowed myself to get angry, like really angry. Enough to decide this wasn't ending here, and enough to march back up to their front door. They were still there, my parents whispering to each other like they were surprised I hadn't just driven away, and Emma sprawled on the sofa, scrolling through TikTok with the volume on full blast. I walked straight in. "What's going on here? Why am I suddenly unwelcome?" Emma smirked without even looking up from her phone. "You think we haven't noticed that you've been slacking lately? Even the kids know they've barely gotten anything from you in months." Honestly, I would have rathered that she slapped me in the face rather than spew that bullcrap, and I couldn't help but raise my voice. "Are you kidding me? I have hundreds of dollars worth of presents for your kids sitting in my car, right?" But she interrupted. "I don't want to hear it. A few years ago when they were born, you did way more. It's honestly embarrassing." I turned to my parents, expecting some kind of intervention or support. Instead, Mom gave me this awkward half smile and said, "She's got a point, honey. You just leased that new truck. You found money for that." For a moment, I was speechless. "The truck is financed," I replied, forcing myself to calm down. "And even if I paid cash, how does that suddenly make me responsible for Emma's family? They're not even my child." "You make twice what Joe does," Emma interrupted again, while lounging back like we were discussing the weather. "We're family. Family helps each other." I glanced at Joe, who was sitting silently in the corner. "So let me get this straight," I said. "Because I've been generous in the past, I'm now obligated to keep giving forever? And if I don't, I'm a cheapskate?" Emma shrugged. "If that's how you want to see it." Well, that was my breaking point. I took a step back and shook my head. "You know what? You're right. I don't belong here." I looked at my parents. "Enjoy your Thanksgiving." I walked out without waiting for a response. The drive home was tense, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I almost wanted to believe I was the villain here. Like, there was no way I'm just suddenly not welcome at Thanksgiving anymore, all because I haven't given enough. When I got home, I sat in my driveway for a long time, just staring at the gifts that I spent hours wrapping, because those bags of gifts made me feel sick now. The more I thought about it, the clearer everything became. It had been building for years. Thanksgiving was just the breaking point. Emma had always leaned on me financially. When she and Joe first got married, they struggled with money. Joe bounced between jobs, and Emma's part-time work barely covered basics. I stepped in to help, thinking it would be temporary. A few hundred here, 1,000 there, but temporary turned into years. But I guess in a way, it really was all my fault. I made it too easy for Emma to depend on me, and somewhere along the way, I made a monster. And tonight was my wake-up call. I knew I had a decision to make, one that would not only change my life, but also the lives of Emma and her family, forever. I couldn't finish the story in this short video, but it gets intense. Click the link, or go to my channel to watch it.